He carefully judged the distance as he ran down the track of death. But the distance between what? That went without saying. It was the distance between himself and the one thing that could save his life. He told himself he was going to do it, over and over like a mantra. Soujuuro couldn't believe himself. What he was about to do was incredibly stupid. I just see this dude like, well, there's a bunch of bread in the way. What if I just jump off the roller coaster, grab the egg, and do like a sweet-ass acrobat somersault? Like, springing off the egg and then land over the edge of the fucking breadman and then just book it. But what's stupid when smart?
What is stupid when smart is not an option?
Yeah, that makes more sense as a way to read that.
Yeah, if you can't be smart, you might as well be as dumb as possible.
If you're literally about to do what I was just joking about,
grab the egg and
that is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Amidst it all, he laughed at how pointless such self-reflection was now. Temporary confusion, a psychological thrill ride, both had laid his soul bare. What really mattered. But a simple man gets by without deep thought. Soujuuro's primitive mind didn't crave success or reward. For him, it was simple.
Yes.
He was doing it because he wanted to. Not because he felt obliged to those around him. His desire to live his way was his and his own.
Yeah.
If the egg had been equipped with a vocal function, it would have gasped in shock at what happened next.
Write it down. It can fly.
The boy, who had only tried to escape up until this point, suddenly shifted his weight. He pointed his feet outward instead of inward. On the edge of one rail, he crouched ever so slightly to maintain momentum and gazed at the floating egg.
Yep. Oh, wow.
He soared through the night sky. It was a flight that lasted a mere 1.5 seconds. A cordless bungee jump from 100 feet above the ground. His destination? Egg! The only thing that would stop his fall. The giant flying egg.
Yep.
Quick, write it down. Use it to break your fall.
Yeah.
Humpty that Dumpty. He shrieked, this time out of elation, as he desperately clung to the egg's surface. Just earlier, the cold-blooded witch had told him that without fear, the top of a building would feel no different than a balance beam. This from the same witch that would have been left speechless had she witnessed this spectacle.
Probably.
Fearlessness was one thing, recklessness was another. He followed it up with an act that would irritate her for days to come.
You're gonna save me now.
Clinging to the egg, he shifted his gaze away from it. He felt the rapid descent. Soujuuro, focusing his half-shut eyes on the ground, leaped off the egg once they were a few feet from the ground, then turned back to it, careful to re-establish eye contact. That does not break your downwards momentum, though.
I don't know.
You're still traveling downwards at almost the same speed you were.
Well, maybe the egg will, like, not hit the ground. I don't know. Let's see.
But it's not going to break his fall. Something so unbelievable, though, to Soujuuro, the elevator at the department store and the mysterious floating egg were both just moving objects, virtually indistinguishable from one another.
Yeah. You can't really tell the difference.
Your leg would be broken.
I guess the egg was trying to pull back up and that slowed him down. So he just sort of rode it down while the egg tried to fight it.
He landed near the plaza. The shortcut that almost cost him his life had paid off. Soujuuro took off running the second his feet touched the ground. The puppet after Aoko was the only thing on his mind. He paid no mind to the moonlight in the sky.
Jeez. Yeah, Aoko's a little bit screwed at the moment. Oh, wow.
Or the egg, furious about being used and seconds away from self-destructing and blasting fragments all over the place. But when did you get upright?
Yeah, did she roll over? Well, I guess,
Aoko's dumbfounded expression spurred Soujuuro on. The curse was complete. The empty egg began to sing its warning to let them know there was no escape.
Oh my god.
Ow!
Oh!
Shrapnel from the egg exploded through the air. The ode to Queen Alice that Alice had engraved into Dumpty quickly robbed him of his senses. He snapped back to the task at hand and ran to Aoko, still lying on the ground. His legs ran of their own accord.
Oh man, he's gonna feel that in the morning, though.
Though he couldn't have...
Though he could not have ever stopped them anyway.
Yeah.
Since he can no longer feel them.
Rip.
Yeah, as long as the adrenaline keeps him going, he'll be okay. Ha.
You know, Swords of Revealing Light is not supposed to be an attack spell. The scrambled murder case.
Huh.
Piles of rubble became rubble became flowers of light blooming from the earth.
There we go.
Piles of rubble became piles of flowers.
Yeah.
It's great. And now you can't attack for the next 3 turns.
Right. That's a good shot.
The final curtain drew closed, and the defeated left the battleground. That's very close to bad touch there, Soujuuro.
Look, we can't focus on that right now.
I'm focusing on that right now.
It's life and death. It's okay.
No, it's not. I know how anime works. Had Alice Kawanji seen it up close, she would have left her. It would have left her beside herself. The two had escaped by hair's breadth.
Yeah, some of those look like they barely missed you.
The only person in a position to witness that rare mutual destruction was the girl who'd been saved from it. The boy who'd never stopped running paid it no mind.
Yeah, he's not looking behind him at all.
The safety of the girl in his arms meant infinitely more to him than the miraculous way in which he saved her. Or the shards of egg shrapnel in his back.
We'll focus on that later.
The moon did not wait for dawn to set. The ornamental texture of the fairy tale kingdom faded away. All of the illusions returned to the way they were before. From the ostentatious chords reverberating through the streets to the puppets welcoming their guests.
Oh, there we go.
Peace and quiet reigned once more over a forgotten kingdom, never to be awakened again. And now we know it's dead.
Yes. Yeah, that was its last attack. It's gone now.
Out flickered the embers of a late-night dream, even the electric lamps that illuminated the park. And Aoko is sitting up. Together, they watched it disappear. Soujuuro lay on the ground, desperately gasping for air like a fish out of water.
Yeah, after that crazy sprint.
The curse of the exploding egg had numbed his pain, and he was understandably exhausted after all he'd experienced. He looked like he could be blown away by the lightest of breezes. While Aoko was also exhausted, she was still in better shape somehow.
Well, she wasn't, like, physically injured the way he was.
I don't know, she's got a bunch of internal organ damage, probably.
I think she's exhausted. The crest fixed her up mostly.
Focused on taking deep, even breaths, she was already working to recover her strength.
あのさ、
She addressed Soujuuro indifferently as her gaze remained on the amusement park. So, you want to go out? Just like casually. The abruptness of it was a bit theatrical in nature. She wanted to look at him as she spoke, but her pride was simply too great.
あなた、なんかすごいことしなかった？
The moment she'd accepted death had seemed like an eternity. She was beside herself in shock at how indifferent she'd been as the shards rained down from the moon. But a reassuring voice had snapped her back into reality. Why did he do it? What was he thinking? What moronic things did he have to do to pull it off?
Yeah, you probably don't want to go back to that roller coaster jump.
She had no answers for these questions, lying on the ground as she was. All she knew was that he had more than made up for his failure in the House of Mirrors, and then some in those fateful final moments. She addressed him, hoping to find answers, but found herself unable to probe any further. To dig any deeper would feel like defeat, which is why it was so unlike her to ask him in the first place.
That look.
Lucky for her, Soujuuro had neither the capacity nor sensitivity to understand how egocentric she was being.
すごいって、それは青崎の方だろ。
Laser, boom, cool.
Beam of death, moon go pop. He stuttered between labored breath. I didn't hear any stuttering.
Yeah, I don't think that's the word for it. He just sort of paused to breathe.
It was taking him so much effort just to breathe that he couldn't address her properly. She watched him out of the corner of her eye. Thinking back on it, the boy had performed the same role each time. Each and every time, he did what he could in spite of his fecklessness. He had no fecks. It was far more admirable than her nearly suicidal tactics, even if she did defeat her opponent. He didn't even recognize how extraordinary his last act of courage was.
提案、あいつをやっつけるのに協力したら、俺のことは見逃してくれる？
At the very least, he had the courage to keep trying whatever he could. A spectator might have viewed him as a supporting actor. His actions weren't exactly memorable. But the lead actress he supported didn't see it that way.
まあね。認めたくないし、口になんてもっとしたくないけど。
Such inspired actions were wasted in a supporting role. This guy really pulled off the impossible. It was so amazing that she wanted to shout it as loud as she possibly could for all the world to hear.
青崎？
ほんと、人畜無害してます。
All Aoko could do was sigh. How could she not? Even she was forced to admit that the way he'd snatched her from the jaws of death was dashing.
Nice.
ま、評価。
It's a pun. Get it?
Because he dashed to get her.
Oh, Aoko with the funnies. Truth be told, she was a lunatic. Or he was a lunatic for doing what he did.
Yeah, that was insane.
She steadied her breathing and composed herself. A day to get her bodily functions back. Standing up 10 minutes later.
Well, she did say she was feeling better, so I don't know.
She was in bad shape, but she had her pride as a mage to consider. Which was why she needed to maintain an air of dignity when making a proclamation.
しずきくん、見逃すのは今日だけって話だったけど、あれ、なしでいいわ。
Listen, the original plan was I kill you tomorrow.
Right.
Now the plan is I kill you never.
Right, yeah.
Congratulations, you get to live.
とりあえず、命は助けてあげるから。
For the time being.
You've had a stay of execution. indefinitely.
For now. We'll need to talk it out with Alice, but, you know.
She hastily extended her right hand. It was either to shake his or to help him up. However,
Oh.
Soujuuro didn't take her hand, but instead stood up on his own. This night, despite the sheer insanity that he had just experienced, his face had not once looked as incredulous as it did now.
何そのリアクションは。
I was gonna help you up. Why'd you stand up by yourself?
I feel like the Japanese there was much more appropriate because from what I could hear, it sounded like, "What's with that reaction?" She stammered, worried that she'd deeply embarrassed herself. Sojuro's gaze was fixed upon Aoko. A problem had dawned on her. Though she normally hated being stared at, this time she didn't mind.
Now she's feeling weird because she realizes she doesn't mind.
Rather, she was enjoying the warmth in his eyes and felt like it was something she could almost come to appreciate. I don't know, Aoko. I don't have good feelings about that because, like, we don't see him in Tsukihime or Melty Blood.
She's not really in those much either. She's like a backstory character
Yeah,
in Tsukihime.
but she's, like, present. And, I mean, Melty Blood, she's got an entire story route.
Well, that, yeah.
So,
I don't know about the earlier ones, but...
There ain't no Soujuuro in that, so...
I don't know.
I don't think this has long-term prospects.
We'll see.